long as I was going after the crooks that didn't have badges, I was everybody's hero.
Well, Walter Smith, Vic. So he's already shooting from the hip, saying, this guy Vic Feazell, he was on the take. So next paragraph says the U.S. District Judge Walter S. Smith Jr., who testified at Vic Feazell's, this gets kind of choppy here, multi-million-dollar libel trial, that rumors of the former McLennan County District Attorney taking bribes to dismiss cases were circulating through legal circles in late 1984. Now, this obviously raises flags because he's saying these rumors were present in late 1984.
Yeah. Well, I'll use Boutwell's phrase. That's a damn lie.
Right.
And we proved it was a lie. And we're going to get to a paragraph further down that absolutely proves that he was lying.
Right.
He might have been a federal judge sworn to uphold truth and justice in the American way, but he wasn't doing it. Just like he groped those women, he lied about me. Remember last time we said, if you can be cruel to one person, then you can be cruel to another. If you're cruel to any of God's creatures, you can be cruel to others. Don't be cruel. Elvis, don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Well, I had a true heart. I really did. I still do. And that was not true at all. There was no rumors circulating about me until 1985, after Ron Border went and reported to Colonel Jim Adams that I was looking into Lucas. Ned Butler told him about it, and he went straight to Bobby Prince, Sergeant Bobby Prince, the Ranger. And if you haven't seen Netflix, watch Netflix. Bob Prince is the really big, mean-looking guy that they talk to. Phil Ryan is the smaller, mean-looking guy that they talk to, and they both are lying through their teeth. And the documents and history and DNA proves it. When I was arrested and I said, what's going on here, and I'll still be proven right, it took over 30 years. But thank God for DNA science.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true. So Duncan's 10-part series on Feazell began airing on WFAA TV, Channel 8 in Dallas in June 1985.
Yeah, it was 10 parts plus Tracy Rowlett's perspective. I'm Tracy Rowlett's perspective. Boy, Gary raked him over like you wouldn't believe. They had to scrape Tracy Rowlett off the witness stand with a spatula by the time Gary got through with him for that perspective. And then because of the perspective, then we got to play the jury my response. And we're going to have a whole episode on that down the road.
Hilarious.
Yeah, 10-part plus the perspective.
So Belo attorneys John McElhaney and Tom Leatherbury rested their case Tuesday afternoon after calling Smith, reading deposition excerpts, like you said, from McLennan County Court at Law judges Dave Hodges and Mike Gasway, and playing more Waco television news coverage about Feazell's 1987 federal bribery trial in Austin.
Yeah, they played that news coverage, but the TV coverage wasn't that bad. It was the Waco press that was that bad. So we didn't even have to counter the TV stuff. And I don't know why they even read Gasaway's. He didn't hurt us at all. His memory wasn't well. He couldn't remember what happened in 84 or 85. So I don't even remember if I got on my knees and forgave Gasaway, because I don't remember anything I had to forgive him for. I don't. Gasaway was from West Station, a little town about 15 miles north of Waco that's famous for kolaches. If you don't know what a kolache is, find out and have one. They're good, but man, they're fattening.
You know what's funny about that? I'm of Czech descent. And so when I moved to Texas, I remember one time you're like, oh, John, there's kolaches in the kitchen at the office. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I walk in, man, and all I see is a hamburger bun or half of a hamburger bun with just some goop in the middle. And man, I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. Your idea of a kolache was not what I was getting at Christmas time in my household. I thought it was a half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that you ran out of the bread, so you had to use a hamburger bun and you forgot the peanut butter.
Those were Austin, Texas kolaches. Those weren't West kolaches.
I was confused.
The people in West are Czechs. Yeah. They know how to make kolaches. So when you're driving through West, pull over and get a kolache. It's worth the stop. Get a couple of them. I like the ones with the fruit on top, and I like the ones that are the little long bun that's got the piece of sausage in it too. Now, don't do that very often because I'm really pretty strict about my diet. If you look at pictures of me when I was DA, I was like this, and
A little bigger.
yeah, I'm a little bigger. Yeah.
It's all those free pancake breakfasts and spaghetti dinners and barbecues you're getting invited to, right?
I tell you, yeah, every election, I'd gain weight because sometimes I'd hit 2 pancake suppers and a barbecue all in the same evening.
It's the best.
Yeah, man, I could get around. I could go all the way from Moody, Texas to Mart and they're on 2 separate ends of McLennan County. It's a long drive. And somebody at the courthouse say, "Hey, man, I saw old Feazell campaigning in Moody." And I said, "Man, that couldn't have been. I saw him in Moody last night." And they go, "Oh, that can't be. He was at our place over in Mart." Well, I was there too. Yeah.
Best.
Some people thought I could split and go in 2 different directions, but I couldn't. I had a secret. I'd go in, I would shake hands with everybody, put a card in everybody's hand, eat my pancakes, and slip out the back door, and then I'd haul it to the next one. If I passed a parking lot with 10 people in it, I'd stop and shake hands with them before I'd head on down the road to the next event. Yeah, man, I campaigned hard, especially that second election when I was running for re-election under indictment. Yeah. Thank you, McLennan County, for re-electing me. I love you guys. Most of you I'm talking to and thanking now are probably dead that were able to vote back in 1986. But thank you so much for re-electing me. Otherwise, if I had not been reelected in 86, I'd have probably gone to prison, for something I didn't do because I would not have had a platform. I wouldn't have had an income. And, they were expecting me to lose the election because my first pretrial hearing was set for the very next day after the election. I was up till 2 a.m. With the waiting for the votes to all come in and be counted. It was 2 a.m. before
What was that feeling when the votes came in and Vic's reelected? Was it like, all right, man, we got a chance now, or what was it?
I was so relieved. I was so relieved.
Feazell won re-election by 3,000 votes. Feazell told supporters in an early morning victory speech at the Cameron Park Clubhouse that his race wasn't just against opponent Paul Gartner.
It's been a tough fight, you know it, because I haven't been running against one opponent. I've been running against the entire system. And I think most of the people of this state will know that this is not a victory for just Vic Feazell. This is a victory for the people. That's right. For the people.
Yeah, that was me. That was that night. That's how I felt. I was so relieved. So relieved.
$1 million.
58 million.
That's cool though, man. That's got to be had to have felt amazing, Vic.
It was amazing. I probably didn't get to sleep at all that night because by the time we got home, it was 4.
Yeah.
And Gary had come down for the election.
Cool.
And he spent the night at my house, and he and I were in the car, immediately driving to Austin for my very first pretrial, where they were expecting to see me walk in all defeated and trying to work out a plea deal.
Right.
No, I walked in a victor.
Boom.
Not just my name, but a victor in the election. Yeah. Thank you, God.
I love it. I love it, Vic. Yeah.
But David Hodges, he was a county court at law judge, and he and I got crossways because, like Walter Smith, he had trouble keeping his pecker in his pants too. And while I was in Cleburne, not Cleburne, College Station, Bryan College Station, trying the second David Spence case in the Lake Waco triple murders, it was a change of venue.
Right.
There was a DWI that was going to be heard in Hodges Court. And And she was a decent looking young single woman who was friends with Darla Sadler, the girl that worked in my office who gave Tidmore the nickname Cuffs because one of them liked to be handcuffed to the bed. And I get a call from Pat Murphy, who is one of my assistants, saying, "You're not going to believe what happened, man. Hodges, from the bench, found her guilty of public intoxication and let her pay a $100 fine and dismissed the DWI. And then after that said, now that you're not a defendant in my court, you could go out with a judge, wouldn't you?" Something like to that effect.
Just blatant about it.
It pissed me off so bad that when I got back, I filed a grievance against him with the judicial people down in Austin, Judicial Standards Commission or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And they sat on it for about 6 months and then dismissed it.
Wow.
I know. So, man, Hodges and I, even during his deposition, and we may post some of his deposition because Gary took his deposition too. And we've got, because it was his deposition that was read in court. And he and I got into a cussing fight with each other during the deposition.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it was pretty severe. And
pretty severe.
Then later he lost that job because he was a Democrat and went out and voted in the Republican primary, which is against the rules. And when you do that, you forfeit your job. And somebody found out he had done it. They had the paperwork to prove it. Roland Corey, who was the Democratic chairman back then, filed on him for that, and the Democratic Party and the state law removed him from the bench.
Wow.
And now the worm has turned and he's back in the courthouse. He's the judge who is some kind of advisor to that ankle monitor company for the very expensive ankle bracelets. And you go before him, and he was appointed to this. He wasn't even elected. This isn't even an elected job. I just don't think this is right. And you go before him now, you're going to get an ankle monitor put on you. And they're expensive. It's part of your probation fee. You're paying 50 to, depending on what all it monitors. They have some that it can even tell if you're drinking or not, I've heard, from your skin. It can be up to $500, $300, $500 a month, something like that. How people afford that?
They don't.
And if you look up the name of the company, well, there's his name on there as one of the advisors, and he's ordering people to pay for these ankle monitors. What it looks like to me is that if there's not a conflict of interest, there's certainly an appearance of a conflict of interest.
Yeah, there would.
And I hope I never have to appear in front of him. He'll probably hold me in contempt and lock me up. But, I'll go on a hunger strike. I've done it before. I'll do it again. So, yeah, David Hodges. And you know what? Federal Judge Walter Smith, David Hodges, and even poor old Mike Gassaway that they read some of his, whatever bad they said about me, that jury certainly didn't believe it, didn't they?
Oh, I guess not.
Didn't believe a word they had to say.
God, man. So it continues on. Feazell's attorney, Gary Richardson, rested his case after briefly recalling Duncan and Feazell as rebuttal witnesses in playing a December 1985 episode of 60 Minutes that featured Feazell and Henry Lee Lucas. I remember that. We've even played some excerpts in some of our earlier episodes on Lucas.
Yeah, we had.
With the 60 Minute stuff. Cool stuff.
Yeah, it was good. So not only do I have to apologize for Gary for disagreeing with him about how long Duncan was on the stand, because remember Gary had said one time to me, he was on the stand 10 days. And I said, no, he wasn't. He was only up there 5 days. He said, no, I kept him up there 10 days. And then we found this, and there it is, 10 days. And like I said last time, I guess time flies when you're having fun. Einstein was right. Time is relative. Because when you're having a real good time, it goes fast. If you're having a really bad time, time goes slow. That brings up an interesting point. The people that have the longest lives, if time is relative, are people who are miserable because they're so bored and time is dragging so bad. And like, to me, I'm happy. And to me, it seems like I was born like last month, you know. Time goes so fast for me. So fast. I wish it would slow down, but I'm not going to make myself miserable or get depressed or angry in order to make it slow down. You know, be careful about getting angry with people. It's not right. Nobody likes to be chewed out. And when people get angry, you know, they can hold that rage and rant, the average person, for maybe 2 minutes. And in that 2 minutes, you can totally destroy a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
You can destroy someone's ego. You can destroy their self-confidence. You can mark a childhood imprints, and give a child psychological problems for the rest of their lives by talking mean to them and being angry. Learn to control that. It's good for you, and it's good for everyone around you. So I don't get in cussing fights with anybody anymore. At least I try not. And but back then, yeah, man, me and old Hodges, we got into it.
That's funny, man.
Yeah, it is.
Fair enough. So they played some of the 60 Minutes episode.
Mm-hmm. We played the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, you played the whole episode?
The whole episode, yeah. Yeah. And we played the whole response and Cablevision. That's what they used to call the cable company that came to your TV, you know. It was called Cablevision back in those days.
Nice.
Waco Cablevision made a really cool video for my September 1984 appreciation dinner that was played to the 2,200 person crowd.
Wow.
And we got to play that too, to the jury. Man, it had music behind it and everything. It was a tearjerker. And it was like, and it ended with "God bless the USA." It was good. And we got to play that for him too. So, but McElhaney and Leatherberry, they opened the door to all of it.
Yeah.
Even stuff that Gary and I didn't think we'd be able to get in.
Yeah.
They would open the door to it. And we go, "Thank you, Lord. The enemy has been confounded."
Well,
yeah. Hey, let's skip up to page 1B.
You got it, man. Feazell testified that he is seeking $63.5 million in the case, but he told the judge this week that he does not plan to seek damages for episode 4 and for an editorial commentary by Channel A anchor Tracy Rowlett, which is what we talked about a little while ago for the perspective. So why did you leave out then perspective in the episode 4?
Because it was labeled opinion.
Wow.
And we had added that into the pleadings, knowing that Gary and I would dismiss that charge before it went to the jury. But because it was in the pleadings, it let us get in a lot of other evidence that we wanted to get in. And we wanted to play the perspective, see, even though we didn't submit that to the jury.
Right.
Because you can't get liable. If it's labeled opinion, then it's not liable. It's just my opinion. And I'm entitled to my opinion, so it's not liable.
Right.
And so they were entitled to their opinion. We knew that, so we dropped that. The reason we dropped episode 4 is because episode 4 was basically true. But we wanted to put it in because it was so chicken crap. So we went ahead and put it in, even though it was true, but they had slanted it so much and they didn't tell the whole story. It was actually false because of what they left out.
Right.
But Gary and I felt really good about that jury, and we didn't want to give them anything that they could appeal. And we were afraid they might be able to appeal because of episode 4. Wow. Episode 4 said that Vic Feazell dismissed more TABC cases than any other DA in the state. Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission is what it was called back then.
Right.
And they had their own little police department police force that enforced the liquor laws in the state. And those guys were awful, man. They were just awful. And I did dismiss more than any DA because I wasn't scared of them.
Yeah.
Number one, I didn't drink. I was total teetotaler back then. Since I went to Italy in the 90s and then again in the 2000s, I started drinking wine, and I do like my glass of red wine at night. But back then I didn't even drink. But these guys were buttholes, man. Duncan puts up there, and Feazell dismissed this case, even though an adult man had handed beer to a 12-year-old boy. Well, yeah, the guy came out of a 7-Eleven with his son and passed off the six-pack to his son to get in the car with him.
No.
And the TABC arrested him right there in front of his little boy, took him away in handcuffs, took the little boy down to the police station. They had to wait there for the mom to come take the little boy home. And that just really offended my sensibilities.
Yeah.
So I dismissed it. Another example, an adult male provided liquor to an underage female. Well, that's true. He was in his 20s, and back then you had to be 21 to drink. I don't know if it's still that. They put it 18 for a while, and then I think they brought it back to 21, didn't they, John?
Yes.
Yeah. And so he was in his 20s, and she was 18. But she was his wife.
No way.
And he tried to explain, don't arrest me, guys. This is my wife. And you know what they did? They threw him down on the ground. They bruised him up. They broke his prescription glasses. And then got mad at me when I dismissed the case. And I would call that guy Billy Bob or Ben Bob or something like that, Darnell. I remember Darnell was his last name. We'll get to him later when we get to the Duncan episodes. But I would call that guy and I go, what the hell's the matter with you? You got to get a rein in on these people. This isn't right. This is police brutality, and you're totally misinterpreting the law. And yeah, I was dismissing those cases left and right. Now, Duncan said, and Feazell dismissed a case against a waitress who served alcohol to men in a private club, because back then we didn't have liquor by the drink. You couldn't just go in a restaurant and order a drink. You had to have your little card. Yeah. You go in and pay $1 and you're a member. They give you your little card, right?
Right.
And he said, and Feazell's reason for dismissing the case is because she had seen her manager serve these men before. Well, you know, she was a little young girl, college girl, working her way through school. These are men that the owner, the manager, had served before. And then they go in and they rough up this little, like, 20-year-old woman, you know, because these guys didn't have their little $1 paper card in their pocket.
Stupid.
It was stupid. And those were the 3 things he accused me of in episode 4. And I did dismiss those cases. And if I had them in front of me today and I was DA, I'd dismiss them again. And I'd call Billy Bob Darnell or whatever the hell his name was, and I'd go, what the hell's the matter with you?
Yeah,
wake up. Use your common sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did. So that's why we dismissed those.
Get rid of them.
Yeah, and I figured, what's the difference between 58 million and 64? I'm not going to be able to spend it all anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and if I had gotten 64, the IRS would have taken that away from me too. And I'd have just bought more cars and paid off more debts for people, or paid for more kids' first year of college. Yeah. I paid for several kids' first year of college.
What a guy. Yeah. He's a jolly good fellow.
No, I just felt like I had been blessed and I wanted to spread it around. I believe in karma.
It's a real thing.
Jesus, yeah, it is, man. And Jesus believed in karma. It's more blessed to give than to receive, he said. He said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Oh, man, I wish we had more of that.
Yeah, the world would be a different place if that were the case. So,
next paragraph.
Too shabby. So it says, in testimony Tuesday, Judge Smith testified that Hodges told him in late September or early October of 1984, of courthouse rumblings that certain lawyers were charging high fees and getting an unusually high number of cases dismissed, Vic, which is what they were saying.
We've heard that phrase before, haven't we?
We've heard that just so many times. It's just gibber and it's false. But again, here he is saying, "Oh no, this started in late 1984. It wasn't 85. It was 84." So he's up
Yeah.
there stand testifying a total lie.
Yeah, it was a lie. There was nothing. I mean, I packed, like I said, I packed the convention center in September '84. I really think Hodges might have been there.
Yeah.
Now I know Smith was across the hall at the Republican shindig, but but Hodges might have been at some of my other fundraisers. There are pictures of me and Hodges together, man, before he pulled that crap with that DWI.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that just that put us off on the wrong foot together, because I wouldn't tolerate that.
Right.
Yeah. And so no, there's no truth to that at all. And matter of fact, you're going to get down to something a little further down that is going to prove it. And there just weren't any rumors going around at all until Border met with Adams, and they got their PR people together and figured out how they were going to come after me.
Right. Straight up.
And yeah,
That's how it happened.
So yeah, Hodges, Bill Johnston, Walter Smith, three of a kind. Yeah,
Three of a kind.
three of a kind.
So he further says, Vic, he said he directed him to the FBI office and sent a memo to the then Assistant U.S. Attorney, Jan Patterson, who eventually spearheaded the initial federal investigation into the allegations.
Yeah. Well, and we know that's a damn lie, because we know the federal investigation didn't start until months later, according to their own man, Ron Border, who, when we got him on the stand, he knew we had all the documents, and he didn't want to commit perjury.
Boom.
Because we knew that we would go after him for perjury, and we had a judge, Jim Meyer, Judge James Meyer, not Jim Meyer from here in Waco, but James Meyer, retired judge from Austin, who was specially appointed to be the judge on that case. All the other judges in town rightfully recused themselves.
Right.
And so James Myers would not have put up with that, with perjury in front of him. Oh, he wouldn't have liked that at all. He was a very good judge, very tough judge, very fair judge.
Okay.
And I liked him a lot. And so I guess that's why Border told the truth. But Jan Patterson didn't get involved until after January, because it was in February or March that she came up to Cleburne bugging me during the Deeb trial.
Right.
And I wouldn't go out and have a drink with her. And then she got mad and poked her finger in my face and said, "Well, I'm just warning you, stay out of the Lucas thing." Wow. Well, that was my first contact ever with Jan Patterson. That's the first time I'd ever heard of Jan Patterson. And Jan Patterson had even left her own district to come up to Cleburne. Cleburne is up by Fort Worth. That was another change of venue trial. And another 6-week trial. So she left her district to come up there and threaten me. And there was no investigation going on at that time either. The FBI didn't come in until way after that. But they were all like this with Jim Adams, see. Because Jim Adams had been with the FBI. Jim Adams had been a former deputy director under J. Edgar Hoover. He was even acting director of the whole FBI for a while, and was head of the domestic spy program, the very program that masterminded the Martin Luther King bedroom tape scandal.
Right.
You know, that awful stuff they did to Martin Luther King, trying to get him to commit suicide before he would accept the Nobel Peace Prize, because that just puckered J. Edgar Hoover, that Martin Luther King was going to get the Nobel Prize. He couldn't stand that, and he wanted that man dead. And someday we're going to talk about the assassination of Martin Luther King, because I do not believe that the man who killed Martin Luther King acted alone.
Well, and I was going to say, too, we actually have in some previous episodes, we polled some of that footage of him being roasted about that letter.
King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do this. Exact number has been selected for a specific reason. It has definite practical significance. You are done. There is but one way out for you. Now, if you had received such a letter, how would you have interpreted it? What would you have thought it meant?
I have read that statement. I have heard the conclusions of your staff that it was a suicide urging. I can't find any basis upon which they drew that conclusion. I think that approaching it from an objective standpoint, as I read it, I don't know what it means. I think rather than a conclusion, it should be a speculation in a realm of possibilities as to what was intended. But I cannot, I don't understand the basis for it. It's a possibility, but I certainly would not reach such a conclusion from my reading of that
Now, if
statement.
you had received...
Yeah, he testified before the, had to testify before the Senate committee about that very letter, which most everyone believes was dictated by J. Edgar Hoover.
Personally.
Matter of fact, if you watch the movie J. Edgar Hoover, where it came out last year, I think.
Well, maybe before that, but
Yeah. In the movie, they have him dictating the letter.
crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, he says he directed Hodges to the FBI office. We only had one FBI office here, and I think we only had one agent, Tony Ball. And I knew Tony Ball, and I just don't believe that. And he says he sent a memo. Walter Smith says he sent a memo to then Assistant Attorney General Jan Patterson. Well, I've already told you, Gary and I got every scrap of paper. We subpoenaed everything from the U.S. Attorney's Office, my entire file. We subpoenaed everything from the Rangers, from the DPS, from the FBI, from anybody who might have had a scrap of paper on me. And there was nothing, zero, before January 1985, when Border goes and tells Colonel Jim Adams what was going on, that we were going to look into Lucas. And this memo does not exist. He's lying about that.
Yep.
It does not exist. Or if it does exist anywhere, well, no, it doesn't exist.
It does.
But if it does, then they didn't comply with the subpoena. But, that's not odd either. Like I said before, if you're cruel to one person, you can be cruel to anybody. If you're going to destroy evidence over here, you can destroy evidence over there. If you're going to create evidence over here, you can create it over there. Just like Bill Johnston got indicted for destroying evidence on the Davidian attack.
Right.
Yes. Not only did Bill Johnston get indicted, he pled guilty. And the state bar did nothing to him. Pled guilty to lying, pled guilty to destruction of evidence, and the state bar did nothing. I was found not guilty, and the state bar came after my license.
It did.
I had to fight that too.
God.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you go up against the big power, the deep state. And
Yep.
Jim Adams was the deep state.
Wow. Well, to move further from what you just said, so Smith said that in his note to Patterson, he told her of the allegations and instructed her to listen to what local lawyers could tell her about the reports because they were not crooks. So,
Well, I plead guilty to destruction of evidence and lying under oath. Okay, not a crook.
better
Okay.
went into those details.
Yeah. And, well, it's just not true. And we proved it wasn't true. And the jury did not believe a damn word of it.
It's just well, let me finish this last paragraph that we can discuss it further. When asked by McElhaney if Duncan's broadcast made Feazell's reputation worse, the judge said it didn't make it any better. It caused
That's an understatement.
It caused a lot more people to talk about what was going on. It is hard to quantify. It may have, and Channel 8 was reporting on what everybody was already talking about, essentially.
That's BS, because we've already talked about Duncan and his testimony and his list,
Right.
And where Duncan says right there on the witness stand that he was just looking into rumors.
Yeah.
I don't have any specific cases. Well, if everybody been talking about me taking bribes and dismissing cases, there would have been specific cases.
Right.
Which ones are they? And all the cases on that list, I didn't get indicted on those.
None.
It was stuff they were able to cobble together later, and then it fell apart under the light of truth.
Boom.
In front of the jury.
So basically what this article says, man, Walter Smith just got up there and just lied. I mean, no truth whatsoever, making up fictitious letters and did that. I mean, what was he thinking to get up there and act like that?
He was just doing what he always did. I told you that he came down for every day of my trial, my criminal trial in 1986.
Yeah.
And then he was wanting to help Belo because he was in on this crap.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Charles Duncan used to keep his notes in the safe over at the federal courthouse next to Walter Smith's office.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, he would go over to Walter Smith and then lock it up in the safe there that Smith had access to.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we had one of the ladies that I can't remember her name now, that one of the ladies Walter Smith was groping. Tell us about that years later. Yeah.
Wow. It's just amazing that, and I'm so happy for you, Vic, because the truth did come to light and there's a paper trail. Thank goodness that paper trail existed. Ooh.
Yeah, really. And, and that memo that he claims he wrote never showed up.
Of course not.
Never showed up. And Patterson never showed up anywhere until I was in Cleveland trying Munir Deep.
Yep. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And then Gary and I got in the Guinness Book of World Records for that verdict.
Hey!
Praise the Lord. Hi, I'm Vic Feazell. During these trying times, you might want to just stay home. And at the law offices of Vic Feazell, we understand. That's why we're set up to handle your personal injury claim without you even having to come in. Just give us a call, and we'll take it from there. We can send any paperwork straight to your smartphone or computer. Don't delay, because if we don't put money in your pocket, you don't owe us anything. I'm Vic Feazell.